What prompted the recent evictions at Berea's Ridge Hotel? Was a 12-hour notice enough for tenants to prepare themselves? Are such evictions not a violation of human rights? Why are other people alleged to claim ownership of the hotel? This is Question Time. Good evening and welcome to Question Time. I am Alicia Jali, standing in for Mr. Mpotsedu. Over 300 families were recently evicted by the Red Ants from the Ridge building in Berea in Johannesburg. The Johannesburg Metro Police Department said a court order was obtained to clear the building. The JMPD said Tudhope Avenue and Abel Road will remain closed while the rubble that resulted from the evictions is still being cleared. Meanwhile, people are alleged to have come forward claiming to have been tricked by others claiming to own the Ridge Hotel. A reminder that you can call us and air your views on the following numbers: 089-110-4210 or 002789-110-4210. And our Twitter handle is @QuestionTime24. My guests today are Mr. Ian Bedos, who is from the Housing Class Action, and Mr. Prasad Nyoni, who is a spokesperson for the owner of the Ridge Hotel in Berea in Johannesburg. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. A very good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, we just want to get to the bottom of the issue, gentlemen. We don't want to cause any further risk. We really want to understand what went on here. Mr. Nyoni, please tell us, who owns this hotel?
Just before I respond to that question, I would like to clear just one particular error. I represent the financial institution that financed the client. I therefore do not have authority to speak on behalf of the client. Fortunately, I do have the background to the history of the incident.
All right. Can you tell us a bit about the history of the building then, Mr. Nyoni? How did it get this far? Why were people getting evicted as if they didn't know?
Well, I think firstly, let's confirm that the legal owners of the property are Teneter Properties, Pty Limited, a company that is represented by three black gentlemen, previously disadvantaged individuals, who have put together some money that they saved and approached us as a financier to purchase the building. Jointly, TAF, which is a financial institution, and Gauteng Partnership Fund funded this project to the tune of close to 40 million.
All right, so it doesn't belong to government, the building?
No, the building belongs to private individuals who the illegal entity is Teneter Properties.
All right. Ian, look, a lot of people are talking about the legality or the illegality of the tenants. Some claim that their documents and rent was in order. What do you say about that? How did they determine who was legal and illegal?
Right. This is still before the courts, because after eviction, the tenants have gone to the Supreme Court because they're questioning who owns this property. As you may know, in central Joburg, we have a problem of who owns what, because there have been so many hijackings, and the hijackings aren't all like you see on Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Some of them are very sophisticated, and what we're looking at is the eviction of people, which, by the way, in South Africa, this is the eviction center of the world at the moment. We're looking at what are, in reality, criminal groups, criminal cartels, which are making sure that they grab property on behalf of private individuals, which is why Housing Class Action is taking the four major banks to court for the tune of 60 billion rand because of illegal seizure of property. Now, Mr. Nyoni knows full well that the lawyer who is working with, Mr. Vermaak, is always the key lawyer in evictions in central Joburg. Mm-hmm. Mr. Nyoni has also said about previously disadvantaged individuals. Now, the really disadvantaged are the people who've been evicted. And first of all, I will say straight away, according to the PI Act, this eviction was illegal. Because according to the PI Act, alternative accommodation is supposed to be found. And secondly, children are supposed to be guarded on these evictions. There were many children evicted during this eviction. Then we also have to ask the question, when you mentioned at the beginning the rubble in the road, that rubble in the road was people's belongings, previous belongings, which are completely trashed by the red ants. And who are the red ants? They're people collected from the streets. If you see the state of them, drug addicts and alcoholics amongst them, who are being used to terrorize people. This is an organization of thugs. And Mr. Nyoni's alleged owners have been using thugs. You can see it on the screen at the moment. So this is what's happening to the belongings that people have gathered over the course of the years.
Let's clarify that claim. Mr. Nyoni, is that true? Were these people thugs that were taken from the streets? Because I hear that the sheriff says that they were given an order to evict these people. If this is a private building, why get the city to be part of the evictions?
I don't understand where the city is actually involved in this particular aspect. But as for the issue of thugs, I wouldn't be able to answer that. What I know is that the sheriff is granted an opportunity by the judge to actually execute an order.
Absolutely.
And the sheriff cannot do that all by himself.
Yes.
He then appoints the red ants as a service provider to the sheriff.
But 12-hour notice, is this legal in terms of
I don't think that's
law?
also true. That's an exaggeration of facts.
That's in the reports, Mr. Nyoni,
yes,
that they were given 12-hour notice
I can
to
clarify
move out.
that. I can clarify that. What happened here is that on the 31st of December, our clients indicated to us that they were having problems in the building because we could notice as of October they were paying late or paying short to us. They could not meet their obligations. There were disconcerts that were expressed in the building by the residents.
But why is the owner getting back to you, Mr. Nyoni, if he has problems with his tenants? Didn't you guys give funding for the building?
We are a different type of a financing institution. We're not like commercial banks. We handhold our clients. We know that the previously disadvantaged individuals had no expertise in real estate. It is our responsibility to take them through, to create entrepreneurship, to promote regeneration of the inner city, and to ensure that the demographics of the inner city change not only in occupation but in terms of ownership. So we had every reason to handhold our clients. And our involvement is based on that.
All right, but how can you not know then about the involvement of the Red Ants, Mr. Nyoni?
But I've just indicated to you, the involvement of the Red Ants is as a result of the sheriff being granted an order to execute.
Because you complained.
He is compelled by law to use the Red Ants. It is the sheriff who can answer that part, not us. We could have used anyone, but the sheriff brought the Red Ants. That's his prerogative.
But I thought you were in charge of the whole process. But Ian, I really want you to get into this here.
We have a lot of questions. We're asking for the whole judiciary to be put under investigation. As you see, at national level, the judiciary, for instance, has said, oh, it's okay for EFF to disrupt Parliament. Now, at local level, what we're seeing is that almost every eviction we deal with, we're dealing with evictions daily. There's hardly any eviction which takes place in South Africa which follows the law as it is written and which follows the Constitution. Let me give you an example of what happened
very quickly, Ian.
A couple of weeks ago. This is involving a senior High Court judge actually sentenced someone to 30 days imprisonment without that person appearing before a court. So we have no trust in the judiciary, we have no trust in the police, because we know that they are involved in these cartels which are involved in grabbing property in central Joburg and also
Ian, have you been working with the police in order to actually allude them to all your claims?
The only part of the police where we've had a reasonable dialogue is Pop Crew, the the trade union. But in terms of the senior police, they're not interested. The fact in Zimbabwe is this. If someone, in Zimbabwe, I'm sorry, because he's also from Zimbabwe originally. The fact in South Africa is this, that if someone grabs your cell phone in the street, you'll be arrested and sent to prison.
All right.
If someone grabs your house, it's not illegal to steal someone's house or to destroy their belongings that they've gathered over a whole lifetime. It's legal.
Ian, let's leave it there for now. Let me just remind our viewers that you can call us to air your views on the following numbers at 089 110 4210 or 0027 89 110 4210, or tweet us, and our handle is at Question Time 24. Question Time will be right back. Please don't go anywhere.
Your World makes it its business every evening to round up the leading local stories and international news to keep you informed all the time.
Make a date with Your World every evening for all the news headlines around the world to keep you abreast with knowledge.
Catch Your World for headlines across the world every Monday to Friday from 9 p.m, then Saturday and Sunday from 7 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. And of course, we have Mr. Douglas from the VAL on the line. Douglas, a very good afternoon to you. Please go ahead with your question or comment, sir.
Hello, Jolie.
Hi. Please go ahead with your question or comment, Douglas.
To Ian, I'd like to say he's sucking everything out of his thumb. You can hear he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I really think that he's in the wrong here.
Please tell him directly, sir.
Because he cannot say that it's illegal
Douglas,
for a person to go and steal somebody's property. That is some nonsense, that. And I really think he needs to come with some facts and not just talk through his nose.
All right,
or through his suck stories out of his thumb. Because he's talking the biggest lot of rubbish that a person can listen to.
all right. What can you tell us, Douglas, on the matter? What do you know?
No, I don't really know. What I understand is that he's saying that it's the judges and the police and everybody he's blaming. But you can hear this guy's a communist. He needs to leave the country and rather go back to Zimbabwe or go to Russia or something like that.
Douglas, do you want Ian to quickly address you on those views?
I don't mind. He can
Well,
address
that's
me.
perfectly true. I am a communist, and although I'm a Zimbabwean by adoption, I played my part as a member of Umkhonto we Sizwe. So it grieves me very much to see that what we fought for is not being adhered to, because the human rights of the people of South Africa are still being violated. Apartheid is not dead. Apartheid is still there in the law courts, which are completely untransformed. And when I say people's houses are being stolen, I mean that exactly. We have many cases of people who've completed buying their house, but the house has been taken away from them. And what is more frequently happening is that the banks are foreclosing on people who've, after 15 years, let's say, have now defaulted over 1 or 2 payments, and then the house is being sold behind their back without them ever being before a court, because a third of all the cases of evictions are through default orders. When we see the people, we find that they have not been served with any reason to attend court. So when I talk about the majority of evictions being carried out in opposition to the law and the Constitution. We are challenging Nedbank, Absa Bank, Standard Bank and FNB on the very fact that they are not adhering to the law and to the National Credit Regulator, to the National Credit Act. They are not adhering to the law in the vast majority of cases. So we have lots and lots of cases. We're dealing with these things daily. So people just don't believe that this thing can happen, but it is happening.
Mr. Nyon.
Just a quick response.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You know, a lot of us can claim, medals for our contribution towards the struggle. We are not characters who are all of a sudden emerging from nowhere and claiming to know what we're dealing with.
But gentlemen, we're really dealing with a serious issue.
This is a very serious matter. We don't rejoice in evictions.
And personalities aside, I really think we need to get to the bottom of it.
But I just want you to look at the issue. The issue is property hijacking, which is property theft that is referring to.
All right.
This is a typical example of property hijacking.
Mr. Nyoni, I know that, buildings that are hijacked are quite rampant in town, but out of all the people that were staying at the Ridge Hotel, and you have the documents, right?
Yes.
Were all those tenants illegal and not doing what they were supposed to do to be evicted along with everybody else who disobeyed the rules?
Yes.
Can you confirm that for us?
I can confirm.
And how did it happen that all these people in this building, over 300 families were displaced, but how did it happen that it got to a stage where you had to evict them like that?
That's the anarchy that is actually supported by some people who purport to have an agenda to secure and protect the disadvantaged people. People are being taken advantage of under the pretext that they're being helped.
By who, Mr. Nyon?
People like the Mzansi Progressive Movement, that all along has projected itself as a group of activists from the South African Communist Party. As an investor, when we went to council and said, we are picking up on the ground that our investments are not protected. We are your partners. And we noticed that the people who are doing this are part of the alliance, which is the local government structures.
You're coming with big revelations here that we can't confirm at this stage. Let's take Nkosi on the line from Berea. Nkosi, very quickly, your question or comment, sir.
Hello, how are you?
We're very well, thank you, Nkosi. Please go ahead.
Good. I have a question to this other gentleman who is representing the tenants evicted.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, how are you? I used to stay in that building in the Ridge. What happened, I don't know if you know, in December around there, we used to pay rent to an agent called Evicted Property, something like that. But the tenants decided we must stop paying to that agent and pay to the so-called community or people inside the building. Do you know about that? I don't know if you know. Then the owners, they said we mustn't pay to the owners of the building. We started a certain committee to pay to them, and they employed some security and some cleaning service. That's where the problem started, because these guys, they wanted to take the money for themselves, and these others, they wanted to take the money. This where the problem started. I don't know if this other gentleman knows that, because people now, they want to use the law and the judges and make excuse, but them, they start this thing. That's my question. Does he know that the people were paying to an agent and they stopped and said, no, let's pay among ourselves and pay our services to the security note, which is hijacking according to the law? I don't know if I'm right. That's the question to this guy. Thank you so much.
Nkosi in Berea, thank you so much for that. Ian, this is a very serious allegation.
Yes,
have you looked at that as housing class action?
I agree that this is a complex matter, because the problem is the ownership of the building. However,
how is that a problem?
Just a moment, let me finish. What we're looking at is an eviction before even the court process is over. And it's gone to the Supreme Court now. So the eviction was pushed before, because Mr. Nyoni and his friends knew that this case was going to be pushed until there was a final decision. But of course, the people who've been disadvantaged, and I think Mr. Nyoni made it very clear, they want to change the demographics of the inner city. In other words, the working class must be moved out. That's what
That's what
please
respond, sir.
That's not what I said.
Ian, give him a chance.
Yeah, that's not what I said. I said that the demographics of the inner city have changed over years in terms of occupancy. It's now a lot of black people staying in the inner city that was designed for white people. But that is not good enough. We want to see buildings owned by black people. And that's exactly what we're doing. Of the numbers of people that we've financed as a financial institution, 60% is black entrepreneurs.
All right, hold that thought there, Mr. Nyoni. Itumeleng in Pretoria, a very good afternoon to you. Please go ahead with your question or comment.
Hello, Andile.
Hi. Please go ahead, Itumeleng, with your question or comment, sir.
Yes, I want to comment on the issue of property. I just want to say everything is happening because of officials. They just let things control themselves. Every time officials, they are not proactive, they're just reactive. And every time fingers will be pointed, I blame the officials not to take charge of what is happening inside the CBDs, and not only the CBDs, inside the locations. I agree with that other guy who says, I don't like to say apartheid every time, but it seems like every time there's problems, black people are affected. In the locations, every time we are the ones who are always robbed of these properties because of maybe we are not familiar with how things are done. So we always rely on somebody else. And then somebody else takes advantage of our lack of knowledge. And that's why everything, gets messed up. Just officials, they must be serious and take people's lives, property serious, and treat people serious. Because this thing is a mess, even in Pretoria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Itumeleng, out in Pretoria. Well, he's blaming the officials in this. And from the gist of what I've been getting in this, the dispute here was between the owners and the tenants that has now led to the owners to retaliate in the harshest way. Ian, anything to say there?
Right. We are still disputing who is the owner of this building.
Who is the owner? He's right here.
Right. No, he says he's
the funder.
Representing the owner as the funder. So what we're saying is we're disputing the very fact of ownership. Now, this thing of talking about disadvantaged people, this has now become not so much an issue of colour, it's become an issue of class. Because we're very aware, because the people who are being badly affected is the working class and the poor. And some people opposing themselves, we refer to them as 10-dropreneurs. They're people who, like Mr. Nyoni said, they're helping these black entrepreneurs who have got no experience of business. What are they doing? They're now quite happily evicting other black people. In other words, but they're using basically an untransformed apartheid legal system to hit at other black people.
This issue just gets bigger now. Now it's racial and it was political. Like, couldn't this war rage on in courts while the poor people at least had an option of where to stay, Mr. Nyoni?
Well,
I mean, let's talk about this. There were young children here, and also there's been a question about the human rights. Are they not being violated here?
Well, I'm not sure about that. The law took its course, and everyone is given a fair opportunity. I can tell you that this appeared in the local High Court of Gauteng Local Division.
Quickly, Mr. Nyoni.
It went to the appeals full bench in the Gauteng Local Division. It went to the Supreme Court of Appeals in Bloemfontein. What else are these three gentlemen supposed to do to secure their investment?
All right, that's where we leave it. And that was question time for today. A very big thank you to my guests and for you at home for watching. And of course, up next is Business Review. Goodbye.